Welcome to the Predictive PlayBook. I'm your host, John Ryan. We're here at Manny's Pub, as you can tell. This is the end of the day show where buddies get together, good friends, exchange information, not just about sports, but sports betting, sports strategies. We even get into topics that is only seen in the Wall Street Journal sometimes. And of course, with the market going down the way it did today, I did post several tweets. I think I have Las Vegas Chris pretty excited about a term. It's another financial term, Tony and Rob. It's called inflation. Inflation. You never catch a falling inflation.
Well,
I don't have a line. I don't have a comeback for that one.
yeah, of any type.
Well, make a long story short, I do think Bitcoin is going to get slammed short term, like in the next 7 days, along with the S&P 500. But that does not mean that I don't think Bitcoin's going to possibly trade 80, 90, 100,000. So, this is serious though, guys. The Fibonacci retracement on this move for the Bitcoin would be right up below 45,000. So I have no idea whether we get to that level, but I would have to think at this point, in my opinion, and that's the caveat. My opinion is just one man's thought, that if we get close to that 45 level, we're going to get a lot of buying taking place no matter what headlines are in the news. So that might be a place to kind of put in the back of your head just in case we do tank that far. And it would actually be healthy overall. It would actually put the market in a good position to get to 80, 90, 100,000 because you need to get things shook up. You can't just keep going straight up and everybody's bullish, and just like you can't keep betting on the Utah Jazz when they won 15 in a row, or the New York Knicks. Now we're seeing a similar thing. The Knicks are going through a little consolidation, if you will, and we saw what happened to the Jazz. So the market can overreact, and when I say the market, it's not the Vegas guys, it's us, the betting public. And we all have a factor in that. The Vegas guys are just pricing where they think we are. But anyway, welcome to the show, guys. Tony Finn, you won your 5% top-rated play on the Arizona Diamondbacks last night. Rob Vino, you get to the point with Rob Vino in the NBA, you think that he's due for a correction, but he was 3-1 again last night. So if you guys in the chat room haven't caught on, these are two of the best guys. You can actually make the claim in the world, and you're not making a mistake by going over to wagertalk.com and getting their subscriptions. And don't get just 1 day, get 30 days. If you haven't ever done this, get 30 days because that's a test drive. 1 day, none of us can say that we're going to win or lose. So that's my plug for you guys today. Welcome to the show. We have several guests coming on today. Ross Benjamin, we have Nick Borman. And not sure about Kevin Broadus, but maybe stuck in traffic or something. But if I get him in the studio, he'll be on again, or he'll be on at 4:45. So I'll be quiet now. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, John.
Same to you, Rob.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Wow,
Well, it's good afternoon too.
No.
I should have said good. I should have said good. Good.
I thought for sure he was going to say something in Latin.
I didn't think about that. I'll come up with something later on.
You got to do your Latin word of the day, man. And I guarantee you will do well on your SAT test if you do one Latin word a day.
I have a story now. You had to bring it up, didn't you? The story is this. When
No.
I had my SAT test, this is what I did. I was out the night before, and the group of us boys, we were out hard. And we were late. And
So studying.
So what I did, this is what I did. I showed up for the ACT, and I did my math. I was always adept at math, and I could see just enough and read just enough of the ACT that morning that I did well in my math. The rest of them, multiple choices, I guessed. And if I told you what I did on my ACT, they would probably use me as a test sample saying, hold it, there's no way that the guy could just guess and do as well and pass. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to say anything other than it got me into State University which isn't saying much. It got me into the state university, which I don't think they turn anyone down at that point in time. They do now, but I had to throw it in because kids, it's not the way to show up for your ACT.
Well,
my daughter, who's getting her doctorate, which I know surprises everyone listening to the show, saying Finn has a daughter that's alive and is going to get a doctorate. Well, she's a smart one. She got it from her mother, and one of the
smart man.
All of them are smart, really smart. So they're not. I always wonder. I've said it to you guys before. I've made all the mailmen and all the milkmen do DNA tests, but here we go. This is the deal. She believes ACTs. She's one of those school of thought and has petitioned and written many articles to abolish and to basically get rid of that stuff because she believes that they're socially biased, et cetera, you know. So that's culturally biased, should I say.
That's remind me to tell my story of taking the achievement test because I did really well in the Russian. And
my dad. I'm Russian. You know that, man. I'm first generation.
I'm about as
How
good
did you do good on Russian? You know Russian?
I was going to save my story, but we got Ross Benjamin waiting to come on and give us some information that people can use to bet.
Okay.
You can't bet on Russian.
Well, we can bet on Putin. I bet you there's something we can bet on.
Well, make a long story short, you paid for 3 tests back in the day. So took 2, and a buddy of mine, we decided we were going to take an achievement test just because we paid for it on a subject we knew nothing about. I did the Russian, and I filled in the bubbles. Remember the bubble? You filled it in. I did Christmas trees. So I was done in like 5 minutes, and of course the proctor looks at me like Tony Finn on mushrooms, and I actually scored 580, not knowing a word of Russian. So I went for interviews at colleges and stuff. It was a hell of an icebreaker because the guy or the woman would look at me and say, "Oh my God, all these years of German, and you have 5 years of Latin, and you can also speak Russian?" Well, no, not exactly.
You know any words in Russian? Nothing?
I know Putin. That's it. It's the only Russian I know.
That's it, huh?
Yep.
I can understand it better than I can speak it, but I can speak a little as well.
I love Russian salad dressing.
Me too. It's the best.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It's a
I'm going to bring in
sugar and French dressing.
I'm bringing in Ross Benjamin here.
I got to be fearful when I got an Irish guy who speaks Russian in front of me.
Yeah.
That's a pretty scary combo, guys. I'm telling you.
Counterintelligence.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
So, quickly moving on here, Ross, welcome to the show. And I know you have a good best bet for us today. And,
I do, but before I get to my best bet, I just have to, the last time I was on, I heard Tony go on and on and on about this man crush with Eric Fetty. The guy's a bum, Tony. He's a bum.
I don't think did I have a man? Did I say I had?
Don't listen.
Did I say I had a man crush
once
on
a
Fetty?
week. I remember everything.
Okay.
The guy's a
well,
bum.
then you're way ahead of me because I barely remember 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, there you go. Too many mushrooms in your days, I guess.
Yes.
Sprinkled in with a little LSD, I guess.
Fetty must have disappointed you.
Max Fried, we finally got a good outing out of him. So we trust him tonight,
Yeah.
Well, I asked Tony that question the day after because Eric Fetty didn't perform. In fact, I congratulated you the next day, Tony. I said,
I was under, wasn't I?
Congratulations on your winner.
Yeah.
But it had nothing to do with your reasoning because Fetty was lousy. But you won the bet. And
what did I say? What did I tell you about Fetty? I said, in truth, look at his line. It wasn't outrageous. And a large part of that was due to the home plate umpire. Yeah. He got some calls. He got some balls. He got some calls. The balls that should have been strikes. And that happens. It happens every night, so.
But real quick, repeat what you told me about Max Fried after that start.
What I said about Max Fried was, and I don't do this when we have, like when all of us get together, I don't usually, if someone says something and I believe differently, maybe there's times when I might step up and say, I respectfully disagree. But Fried's injury at that time, the reason he had missed starts was that he had a slight pull of a hamstring running the bases in a start. It wasn't his arm. And in truth, here's what happened was my source out of the Atlanta Journal said, listen, he spent that time getting his timing back. His early failures were his landing foot and release point weren't synced. And so he spent the 8 days he was off working on that. And I think we'll see a better match. Like Ross said, I think we'll see. It's just a start for Max because he's a first rounder, a talented kid, and his spin as a rookie was in the same category, in the same ballpark, in the same container as guys like Kershaw. And I'm not saying he's a Kershaw. I'm just saying that's the category he was in with his spin rates. So there you go.
Well, okay.
So it could be
bet
time
on
to
Fetty.
Max Fried.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Fried hadn't started in 2 weeks the last time, and there was no doubt he wasn't physically sound. Yeah, a hamstring for a starting pitcher, that might have a little to do with a poor performance. My question is, if that was the case, why are they even throwing that kid out there at the beginning of the year? Because if indeed that was the full reason why he, I think, had 3 bad performances to start the season before they sat him down and let him heal a little bit. So, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. Tony, if all else fails, you could be a pitching coach in the major league with all your descriptions and your FIPs and all that stuff. So.
Pass the drug
I wouldn't pass the drug test or the background check. I'm certain of it.
Anyway.
Oh, goodness.
Well, I do want to welcome Ross to the show here. Before we get into the Kumbaya session between these two, I almost felt like Rob and I should bow out just so you guys could,
I know.
give each other some high fives and hugs.
Sorry about that, John.
No, that's quite all right. It's entertainment. It's very good entertainment.
If you want to see Kumbaya, real quick, you watch today's NBA tip-off show.
Oh, well.
It's the first time.
It's in a league of its own.
It's the first time that myself, Brian Leonard, and Teddy have been on a show together. I think since I joined Wager Talk. And, when I go to Las Vegas, those are the first 2 guys I look up. They're my best friends out there. So we had a Kumbaya session that Joe, what's his go-to phrase, guys? After a while, we were talking so much about each other, he gave us a good Christ, shut the hell up. So it was worth it. It was fun to do a show with those guys. But see, John, every time you talk, it sparks something in my head or Tony's head, and then we ramble off the rails here. Yes. And let Ross talk about his
we would have already been done with my pick if you didn't bring up the Russian.
Believe me,
this is Russian, John.
This is all done by design with Johnny Detroit and myself. It's a secret little hosting scheme we have. It mixes things up. You got to have one show that drifts a little bit, side to side. Yeah. But I must say, Ross is on a good run here. I want to mention some of his hot streaks. He's 60% since April 11 in all sports. He's 59% since March 20th in all sports. He is 61%, 37-24 record in Major League Baseball. In the NBA, he may pale to Rob Vino, but he's 61%, which is better than most. Mm-hmm. Since April 2nd, 64% since March 16th on 4-unit and 5-unit picks in all sports, and that's outstanding. 23-12, 66% since April 18th in Major League Baseball, which is nearly a month if my math is right. So, point is, you should listen to this guy. Let's get to the free pick, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those 2 gentlemen as being one of the world's finest handicappers, and rightfully so, they are, okay? I'm probably the world's least known hidden secret as a handicapper, so thank you for those accolades. One of these days, at 63 years old, I'm at Sports Memo. Maybe I'll get a call up to the majors and be at Wager Media. Or Wager Talk, excuse me. In any event, let's get to the free pick. I had to add that in there, John, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah,
it's the type of show it is. I'm in charge, and believe me, you'll know if you cross the line, you'll know it.
Phillies at the Nationals. Zach Wheeler and John Lester, the slated starting pitchers tonight. Washington's seen 7 of their last 8 games go under the total, and they've been a major contributor contributor to that, John, is they've scored 3 runs or less in 7 of those 8 games. And John Lester's been pretty good in his first 2 starts. They haven't stretched him out yet. He's only gone 10 innings into 2 starts, but he does have a respectable 2.70 ERA. Little concerned with the 130-plus whip, but I just think that's just him shaking the rust off. And the Washington bullpen has been solid all year. Not spectacular, but they've been around, hovering around ERA of 3 as a staff. A whip of around anywhere from 108 to 115 on the year consistently. And then they're going to be facing tonight, speaking of hitting problems, they're going to have a hard time tonight because they're going to be facing who I consider one of the top 5 right-handers in the National League right now, Zach Wheeler. And boy, has he been on fire over his last 3 starts, guys. He's gone 7, 8, and 9 innings in his last 3 starts. And over that time, 187 ERA and a 0.63 whip, which, as you guys know, I pay a lot more attention to the whip than the ERA. And you got a Phillies bullpen that's really shaky. They were supposed to revamp the bullpen. They started out good. They've been horrible over the last 2 weeks. But the good thing here is you got a pitcher in Zach Wheeler who's ate up a lot of innings in the last 3 starts and done it quite effectively. So you could prevent your bullpen from being exploited when you got a starter, a bulldog like Wheeler, who can give you 7, 8 innings on a good night. And for those reasons alone, I am going to go with this game to go under the total of 8.5. Phillies and Nationals under 8.5 tonight in Major League Baseball.
I love the breakdown, Ross. Very thorough, comprehensive. But I'm going to ask Tony Finn and Rob Vino for their opinion. And that's what makes this show good, is that nobody gets offended if we go against one another. You know, we've had some interesting dialogue with Ski and Tony Finn. Yeah, see, I apologize, Ross. It's been 2 days since I've been on a show with Tony, and obviously I miss him. So I'm going to start singing the Kumbaya.
And I have about 2 minutes before I have to bow out today because I have to
oh, that's true. You got it. Yep.
I got to do take care of a duty that take care of something that I promised. I promised I would take care of, and so I try to do what I say I'm going to do. I succeed most times. I will say real quickly, I'm looking right now at yesterday's schedules or yesterday's results, because to be transparent, I did not look at this game when I saw the pitchers. I also am a fan of Wheeler, but I played against Lester when he came back, when he had his first start. I based it on a couple of things. One was why he was late getting into the game, into the rotation, and it had to do with some stamina issues. And I don't know the name of the virus or the illness or the whatever his ailment was, but he surprised me the first time out. He didn't pitch to what I expected him to pitch to, and I think we talked about it on the show. It was either the first pitch or this show here, one of the two. And his hiccups of throwing to first base, et cetera. But so what I was going to do is I was going to look to see who the umpire was yesterday, or who they had scheduled for today. Maybe it's up on there. Maybe I can find it there. I wanted to know what the rotation was. Who was the home plate umpire yesterday, which would tell me, and who was the first base umpire, and it would tell me who the home plate umpire would be tonight. And what I'm saying is, if it's Nick Marley, and that's what they have listed on one of the sites I use to reference home plate umpires, I would say this: he's a newbie. He's a guy that, if you look at he has less than 60 assignments behind home plate in his career. If I'm not mistaken, he has one of the highest K rates of all the newbies. Right, it's over 24%, which is pretty unusual considering Major League Baseball's your veterans will have an average of about 20%, 20.5%. Again, this is a small sample size. So if he performs with the vest on tonight and calls 25% of the pitches strikes, I like Ross's play.
Yeah, I got him as well. Nick Marley behind home plate. 3-1 to the under this year. A real homer, since in his career, 36-17, the home teams are with him calling balls and strikes. I don't know if that's coincidental or there's something to that.
Well, it's a pretty small sample size. We'll
It's
know
a
when
fact.
it's about 300 starts, back there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Tony, I know you have to get going. I don't want you to miss this appointment.
Okay. I'm not going to give you my full breakdown, but who I like tonight, there's a couple reasons I like. And you would want to check for several reasons. I put something out on Twitter today. I don't know if you guys read my tweet about today's Rubik Cube. And that was that the Tigers are slashing versus left-handers 178, 242, and 243. That is historically bad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not just bad, historically bad. That your slugging percentage is 243. And I know it's only been 35 games. Okay. Let's move on to the Royals slashing versus right-handed pitchers in the last 7 games. And they've gotten, from a hot start, they've really tailed off in the last, actually 15 to 20 games. But in the last 7, they're slashing 204, 290, and 278. Now, while that's just the last 7 games, you just don't see it, guys. You don't see a slugging percentage less than an on-base percentage. And you rarely see an on-base percentage that's 278. I mean, that's just bad. The temperature is about 60 degrees at first pitch. The light crosswind 5 miles an hour at Comerico, which is pitcher friendly at its hottest. It's pitcher friendly. And then I looked and saw the home plate umpire, which was Dan Bellino. And if anybody knows anything about Dan Bellino, they know that he is about as hitter friendly as hitter friendly comes. I mean, he has called more strikes down the middle of the plate. I have video of it. I'd love to show you guys someday. We'll put it on the air here. But down the middle, where the batter is walking to the dugout because he watched the third strike go by him, and he never heard strike 3, and he looks back and sees that Bellino's looking at him, and he walks back in the batter box. That's how bad it is. Bellino, hitter friendly. So I looked at unders. When you see those kind of slashing lines between two offenses, your pupils get big, and you think, this is free money. This is damn free money. Until I saw Bellino. So what I did with this was I turned it around. The truth is, Detroit's so bad against left-handed pitching. All Duffy has to do, and Dan Duffy, by the way, Danny, has kind of resorted back to his 2016 numbers. His velocity is 2016. His pitch his arsenal is about the same as 2016 as far as percentages go, and that was his best season ever. It was the year after the World Series when the Royals won the 2015 series. He was the ace of that staff because they had let some guys went away. Cueto, a lot of guys went away. He knows this. He's a sharp guy too. He knows all he has to throw strikes to Detroit, and he's probably going to win. So, unfortunately, I thought the number was a little high at $145, $150 on Kansas City and Duffy, but they are now my free play. It's Kansas City, Duffy minus $1.50 at Comerico, but against the arguably right now, if things were all things equal, guys, and remain constant or equal to what they are right now at game 162, there would never have been an offense against left-handed pitching, offense really, period, guys, as bad as this 2021 Detroit Tigers.
That's awesome.
With that, I'm signing off, and I wish you guys the best of luck tonight. I'm off to save the world.
That a boy, Tone.
Thanks.
Take care, Tony.
See you guys.
Take care, buddy. Good luck.
See you, Tony.
Okay,
Thanks.
I got to figure out. Shut me down because I can't see my link where I shut myself down here. All right.
How do I shut you down?
There you go.
Nick Borman is in the house. First time on the show. Welcome to the show, Nick. You got a good dose of what this show's all about already. And I'm going to show this to you guys, and then Tony can see it later. But I want to start a segment on this show because Tony's from Lawrence, Kansas. And Tony is such a likable man, and I think everybody should really get to know Tony and his roots. And I've come up with a little 30-second to like 60-second segment, and I haven't thought of the title yet, but A Day with Tony or something. But slide number 1 was this today, and I think it might be good for us to know the answers to these things. So, which 5 cities are in Kansas? Who better would know that than him? Right? I don't know the answer to it. I think Wichita is. I know Augusta is because he said it on the show.
So Topeka is, Dodge City is, and Salina is. There's your 5.
Nailed it.
Oh, he's Kansas City guy, right? Right, Rob?
Yeah, outside of Kansas City, from what I can gather, Tony kind of wanders across the state a little bit in his. He's got some travels, to say the least. But yeah, I would guess. I can't get straight because Kelly is from Kansas as well. They're both K-State alum. I think Kelly. I'm not sure. I get the 2 mixed up, but I think Tony is outside Kansas City. I'm learning a little bit about it because my youngest son's fiance is from Kansas City, but the other side of the border, Missouri, and that border war's something. You see, sometimes on the show, John, I can poke Tony Finn the wrong way with some Missouri Kansas jokes.
And I'm kind of feeling that fire. I think a little bit, to be totally transparent, but. The next slide would have been, I'll save that for tomorrow. It's like this. What is the state flower? Anything that is official state logo. I have a list of that. So I think it'd just be interested to hear his reply. I have to be careful with that last one though, because he probably has a story for every single city that's listed as the answers.
That's very.
And then we're done at 7:00,
right?
Pacific Standard Time.
Better start at 12:30.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, I'll figure it out. But one of my favorite topics is the PGA Tour, and with all respect to Rob Vino, he doesn't play. He's probably a smart man not playing. I don't know if Ross does.
No.
But Nick is a PGA Tour professional. Wow. Knows his stuff. With the matchups, and this is a very intriguing tournament coming up this week because it's a new venue. It's at the Craig Ranch TPC, and it's probably going to be a tournament. And Nick can tell me if I'm wrong. It's probably going to be like a -20 to win it. Did you guys hear the story about Bryson DeChambeau this past week?
Yeah, I was on him last week, so I know the story very well.
Well. Real quick, I'll for Rob's benefit and Ross's, he triple bogeys 18 on the second day, walks off 18, realizes he's in 90th place, gets on a charter jet to Dallas where he lives. I guess gets about 3/4 of the way there. Somehow they texted him and said, or the agent texted him and said, by the way, you're in 68th. So then he described like what he did. Instead of you would think they would just turn around. They didn't. Land in Dallas. He does 2 workouts. Probably, I think, 4 or 5 protein shakes. Gets maybe a couple hours of sleep. Takes a flight at 1 a.m. Gets to Charlotte at 6:20, I think it was. It was an early tee time. And I don't think he went to the driving range. And he was 6 under in round 3 until he went to 18 again, and he double bogeyed 18. But just a remarkable round of golf, and the guy was a metric in golf that guys like Nick look at it all the time, and it's shots gained around the green, shots gained off the tee, shots gained overall. So Bryson lost 5 shots last week in that tournament on approach. So think about playing now on this course, which is pretty wide open. It's a bomber's delight. It's 74, 70? And it's wide open, and I got to think that Bryson is a guy to actually fear by the rest of the players this week, because it seems to be a course for him. Ryan Palmer has the course record, which I don't know what it is, but he has the course record, and he's a Texas boy, and this tournament is in Texas, so I'll calm down my passion here about the PGA, and we'll let the expert in Nick Borman tell us who to bet on here.
John, you nailed a lot of stuff there. That was awesome. Yeah, I was on Bryson last week, and I was just watching that Friday round, and basically chalked up. I had him as a top 10 play, which it didn't come through, or excuse me, it did come through, and I wrote it off. And then as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, he's in 70th place. Now he's at 68th, and the cut's at 65, right? So all of a sudden he snuck in there, and then he played very well on Saturday and cashes a ticket. So that was one that you don't expect to have happen very often. But
it was the first
for sure.
First guy to ever have 5 shots lost in any metric and be a top 10.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But anyway.
Yeah, this week, you said it before, it's a new PGA Tour course. Some of the field has some experience here. It was hosted the Korn Ferry Tour Championship, which is the next level down. Used to be like the Web.com Tour back in 2008 and 2012. So there's 12 players in this field that competed in one of those events. Other than that, there's a few guys. Scotty Scheffler, apparently grew up near the area, played a lot of junior golf here. You have guys like Spieth, and you already mentioned Ryan Palmer, Texas guys that have played here a lot during their youth, but there's a lot of players in the field that this is their first time here. So it's hard to handicap. When you're looking at golf, it's how are you playing now and what's the course history going into an event, because some guys play very well year in and year out, no matter how good or bad they are playing coming in, but you don't have that metric, obviously, this week. So it's really about, how's the course going to set up? John, you mentioned it. It's wide open fairways. It's going to be for the guys like a Bryson or guys that are going to hit it long. They're going to have the short wedges in their hand to take advantage of. So they definitely have a advantage here. You're right, 20 under is probably going to win this thing. Very rarely will you see a tough course the week before a major. We have the PGA Championship next week because guys don't want to get beat up. They want something to build their confidence and get their game hot, if you will, before they head in there. And, of course, then you have a lot of guys not, big names not play this week. So if you look at the odds board, you have the top 10 on the odds board are names everybody's heard of, and they're 25 to 1 or under, and then it drops off really quickly. You got guys quickly down into the 50s to 70 to a ton of guys over 100 to 1, and it's hard in these weaker fields to look down the list that far, but more than likely you can get winners. These are the type of fields where you get winners down the list with only a few big names, and you get a Bryson or a John Rahm who are less than 10 to 1 to win the tournament. For me, they're not guys I like to back, as far as outright type of plays. One guy, I did a free preview. I'll throw one name out there for you to start. Did a free preview on Twitter video for Will Zalatoris. If you don't know his name, he's a young guy, rookie on tour. He's been fantastic. He did miss the cut last week, but that's only his second missed cut in 17 starts this year. He's got 11 top 25 finishes, including 6 top 10s. And he has really strong finishes at some of the toughest courses with some of the best fields out there. He was tied for 7th Farmers, tied for 10th at the Arnold Palmer, 21st at the Players, 15th at the Genesis. He's a guy that's going to win. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it's probably coming sooner rather than later, like Morikawa, Hovland, 2 really young, good players that won and have won multiple times now. And you want to get the guys before they win, and their odds start to drop on a weekly basis. Now, Zalatoris, the odds makers aren't dumb. He's not a guy they're laying out there at 50 to 1 or longer because they see the skill and they know that this guy's going to win. So right now, he's at 30 to 1, and he's kind of one of my guys I got circled this week that I'm playing. He's number 4 on tour. You mentioned the strokes gained metrics. He's number 4 on tour in strokes gained approach. So that's your iron game. Number 8. Strokes gained tee to green, so that's everything, off the tee, approach, and around the green, all combined. 18th in greens and regulation, and 10th in scoring average, while also quietly ranking number 20 in distance off the tee. So he doesn't get a lot of notoriety for distance, but he's going to be a guy that's going to hit it far and have some short clubs going in this week. So he's a guy I like as an outright play this week is Will Zalatoris. So hopefully Rob and Ross, who aren't golfing, maybe they want to get a little action in golf. Golf's a fun sport to bet. It's not like you got 3-hour game or 2-hour game, whatever it is, and it's going to be over real quick. It's 4 days of all right.
Agony.
I'm gonna go get something to eat. I'm gonna go take a dump. I'm gonna come back and tomorrow and see what's happening. And it's a different way to bet, but and you can have bad days. One bad day doesn't kill you. A lot of times it can hurt pretty bad, but you can come back. So it's a different animal as far as betting goes, but certainly fun.
Yeah, and Zalatoris I have at 25-1 right now. What do you think of Jordan Spieth?
I mean, the best comeback story in a while. The guy fell off a cliff for 2 years, which is unfortunate. I mean, he was the next star. He was the guy that was supposed to replace Tiger Woods, right? Young American, good-looking kid. Had everything you'd want from a PGA Tour and an advertising standpoint. And after he had several wins, his driver game went to shit. His putter was always what led him to victories, and that fell off. And finally, about 2 months ago or so, 3 months ago, he started coming back. And of course, he got the win about 6 weeks ago now. And it was not out of nowhere. He had like 3 straight top 10s leading up to that. You could see it coming, and it's good for golf. It's great for him. I'm not on him this week. It's just I might look at him. I haven't figured out if I'm going to play him in a matchup yet. But as far as like an outright or a leaderboard play, there's certain guys that once their odds get too short, he's 10-1. Maybe you can find him 11-1. I just tend to kind of avoid those. I don't think it's a great return when you're betting the outright market in golf. So I do like him. I figure he's going to play well. I can't see him not playing well, but I just not bettable for me at least this week.
The defending champion is actually from 2019, I think, and he's also a member at this club. And I can't pronounce his name, unfortunately, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And I had heard that he is actually like 300-1 because his metrics are just god awful, and there's a reason why he's 300-1. But he's a member at this course, and he's defending champ.
Sung Kang?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, he's not on my radar. Does he even still play? He's playing this week? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he's listed as. I'm trying to find him here on MGM, but I've learned that he's a member at that club of Craig's Ranch.
That's interesting.
I think you can get 8 or 9-1 as a top 20.
That would be the way I'd play him. I doubt he's going to pull through. But if you're going to get anything, maybe he has a hot week and he's up there, with a decent leaderboard finish, top 20, something like that. 8-1. Listen, the top 20 is not that uncommon for guys that are like long odds, and it's a good way to play those guys because 8-1 is still good on your money.
Yep. Yeah, it's real good for top 20.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of any matchups, head-to-heads as they call it, do you like any of those?
Yeah, of course. I mean, matchups, honestly, listen, outrights are fun to play. It's great to say I won somebody that just paid me 50-1, but you're going to lose a lot of them before you're going to win one, let's be honest, right? So matchups is if you're going to bet golf is where to go. One guy versus another guy, who's going to play better over 4 days or sometimes 2 days, right, if they miss a cut. So it's a lot easier to win, a lot more profitable long run. One matchup that I'll start with that I like is fading Matsuyama. Matsuyama's coming off a Masters win, which really seemingly was out of nowhere. If you look at his results leading up to it, he had a couple decent finishes, but he wasn't consistent by any means. I mean, his last top 10 before that Masters win came before the November editions of the Masters. So, I mean, he had played several tournaments, without a solid high top 10 finish. So it was really out of nowhere. Listen, this is his first start since that Masters win, and that alone necessarily isn't a bad thing. It's also Spieth's first start since then, but what has me alarmed is the guy's been all over Japan for the last month, touring around like a national hero, right? I mean, this is the first Japanese player to ever win the Masters, and he has been, I'm sure, anywhere he's gone, been, hoisted up as this, this untouchable guy. So I can't see him coming back here with high expectations, honestly, of himself. I certainly don't have them. To me, this is just an event for him to get focused back and get back into the rhythm of tournament golf before next week's PGA Championship. So I don't expect him to play well. He's going to show up. He may only be here for 2 days, I don't know if he'll make the cut again. It's a lot to come back from. He's just been so distracted. Who knows how much golf he's been playing or practicing while he's been away. Then I'm looking at, he's paired up right now. One of the matchups is against Daniel Berger. And Daniel Berger, he comes in, well rested. He played the week after the Masters, finished tied for 13th at the RBC Heritage. That was his last start. But in 13 starts this year, he's got 8 top 25s, including 4 top 10s, and he does have a win at Pebble Beach. He's got great rankings and a lot of stats. He's 18th on tour in total strokes gained, 17th in scoring average, 5th in birdie average, but you're going to have to make a lot of birdies this week if you're going to win. So no course history, as I mentioned before, to really worry about here. So this is really just a simple fade for me of a guy that I think is going to come in really out of form and lack a lot of focus this week in Matsuyama. So Daniel Berger over Matsuyama is a play I like in a matchup this week.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so true, though. The first-time winner of a major, and then you add on all the extras that he's enduring or enjoying, being the first one from Japan to win any major. So you're right, anywhere he goes. I remember seeing a tweet from, I think it was actually David Behrman tweeted it. It was a picture of him in the airport, and he's holding a phone, looking at it, and the Masters jacket is hanging over his luggage, and he was all alone. And that was probably the last time he was ever alone. That was probably the last time.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else before we let you go here, Nick?
There's when you're looking at this type of event, like I said before, you can find guys that are down the list if you're looking for that long shot winner, or maybe a top 10 play that can pay pretty well. Because again, after those top 10 guys, it really does drop off pretty quickly. Doug Ghim, Ghim, is a player I think that's worth a look this week. He's at 70-1 right now at DraftKings, and he's really too good of a ball striker, in my opinion, to be at that price range and what I consider a rather weak field, or at least very top heavy and then fall off quickly. He hasn't won yet on the PGA Tour. But honestly, it's a matter of time. He ranks number 10 on tour, strokes gained approach this season, 33rd in birdie average. His weakness is putting, but when you have a course that is new to everybody, there's a learning curve when it comes to understanding the putting surfaces. So that kind of levels the playing field, in my opinion. I mean, I played a lot of golf in my day, and when you don't know the greens, it doesn't matter how good of a putter you are. It takes a while to figure them out and understand the true speeds and the subtle breaks. And so I think his weakness will be, blanketed a little bit this week and hidden. And his ball striking is just very, very good. He's finished he has 7 top 25 finishes in 18 events this year. And he's plus 240 for a top 20, which I think is a pretty good price too. That's at FanDuel as of right now. So I like Doug Ghim. I think he's got a good chance to play well. 70-1 is worth a couple bucks, some beer and pizza money, in my opinion, for a long shot, and maybe a top 20 other guy. But I like Doug Ghim as another guy.
Yeah, I'm interested to get your opinion. My research, it looks like this course plays like a Torrey Pines North course because of the bent grass. But the greens on Craig's Ranch are about 800 square feet larger. Which, to your point, is going to neutralize the field of those great putters versus the ones that struggle. Cameron Champ is another one. I think that if that kid ever learns to putt, it's going to be something else. But they're not the only two, by the way. For people listening that don't know golf that well, there's a ton of golfers that have gone PGA Tour and are just brilliant tee to green. But you put that short stick in their hands, and first of all, they end up owning about 200 of them. And on any given week, one of them can be joined by 50 others in the closet. You would like to think it's a lot between the ears, but I think a lot of it is probably technique too. But that's a discussion for another time.
You're right. I mean, putting is tough, man. You can't putt. Hard to win.
One question for you, if you still have time. Ricky Fowler. He was part of my DFS when he won the Players and shot 4 under or 5 under the last 4 holes, which nobody probably will ever do again. And he's the reason I finished in 18th out of, I guess it was like 170,000 entries. So that was the best, still to this day, the best DFS I ever had.
That's awesome.
But now you talked about speed flown off the cliff. This guy's like gone into the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought for sure last week he'd at least make the cut. Not even close. And he's playing this week. Do you have any feeling for like when he's going to be, in the buy zone to put on a DFS team or go for a top 20?
Unfortunately in my opinion, for Fowler backers, he's still a household name, so he gets priced that way even though he's not playing that way. So it's hard to want to get him on any sort of ticket. Last week I actually took 2 matchups, which I rarely do against one guy. But I took 2 matchups against him and actually played well the first round. I think he shot 100, maybe 200, I can't remember. Then blew up in the second round, missed the cut. So, until you see something from him, it's hard for me to want to back that guy. He's got 1 top 20 this year. 1.
That's amazing.
He's played 16 events. I mean, I hope he's great for young golfers out there, and I hope that he comes back around and has a resurgence like the Speed's having right now. But until you see something, it's just I can't get my money behind him again, unless he starts to really drop down the price for. But I think he's too big of a name to actually fall that far down the list.
Yeah, it's unimaginable. Yeah, look at my 2 cohorts here. Yeah, we talk about PGA and a sophisticated game, Nick, and then now all of a sudden,
drool coming out.
Yeah,
what?
Rob, do you know what a 3-iron is?
No, but I know that while you were talking, the Lakers line went from 13 down to 10, and the total went from 223 all the way down to 221. So I was trying to figure out if it's Anthony Davis or if it's LeBron James, which it is. I would figure it's Anthony Davis. He means more on the line than LeBron does at this point in time. So maybe that groin issue is enough to keep him on the sidelines tonight. But that's what I was staring at here. I'm just watching the screen go down, 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 and trying to figure out why.
I thought he was looking at the latest golf odds board.
I wrote those 2 names. I wrote those 2 names down, by the way, Nick. So I'm going to make a small play on both one. I was impressed with your dialogue there.
All right, thanks, Ross.
And I definitely could relate to when John said about not having a short game. The reason why I quit golf a long time ago, I could hit the ball, with fairly hit it for distance, but I get around the green, I'm horrible.
Yeah.
So. Like you said, it's kind of hard to win at the tournament level. It's kind of hard to have fun when you're 3-putting every green, So
100%.
Yeah. What's really fun with golf is, if you kind of like have a passion to max everything out that you try to do, and you get involved in these club championships. So that's our version, my version of the PGA Tour. So I'm not anal about counting all my strokes, but my handicap is legit. Like, I'm not a sandbagger, but I'm also not a guy that has a 2 handicap that thinks he's a 2 when you're actually a 7. And the way I relate this to especially the majors, when those guys are over a 5-foot putt, it's like us guys being over a 3-foot putt in the club championship. And it's amazing the guys that are the fraudulent 2 and 3 handicaps that end up coming in the clubhouse bitching and moaning and cursing and course sucked, and what'd you shoot? 90. A 2 handicap shouldn't shoot 90 with one hand tied behind her back, no matter what. But it's the stuff between the ears that really fascinates me about the sport. You truly cannot let anything around you bother you. And with COVID, we saw lower scores across the board. We saw lower scores, and I think it's because the fans were not there.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, golf is a gentleman's game, but the fans sometimes are not. So you get, guys that don't like certain players, and they have too much of those green, red cups, and it can get ugly. But much to the credit of the commissioner of the PGA and the whole tour, they do a great job of keeping their players out of trouble and out of the limelight, for what that's worth. So. My advice, Ross, is take the game up, get your handicap down to about 17, and then go to the club and just challenge any of those 2-3 handicaps. $20 Nassau, it'll be a good weekend for you.
Yeah. It's hard to win when you're a 2 playing a 17.
So Zalatoris, Nick.
Yeah, it's true.
Zalatoris at 25-1. That's your best value. I would take it, right?
Yeah, I got him. I took him on Monday Monday evening. He was 30-1. So obviously some money coming out. He's dropping a little bit at 25-1.
So no top 20. No,
yeah,
he's not worth it on the top 20. Just play him to win the tournament, kind of thing.
Yeah, I like him at win. Or you could try throw some. I think he's 2-1 at a top 10. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I think a top 10's worth the play. I think he'll be right there in the mix on Sunday.
Very good. Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah, it's been awesome. You can hang on and listen to baseball and stuff and NBA.
Here's what I learned from Nick. Here's what I learned. First of all, don't play Ricky Fowler. 15 events this year, one top 20. So stay off of Ricky Fowler. And that shot down your theory of Ricky Fowler, John. That's what I heard. Then,
well, I was just asking if it was time to stick him on a DFS team just to have him as one of the 6 guys.
I can't pronounce the name, but it had a G in it. There's a guy who belongs to the club where they're playing this event that you threw out there that Nick said maybe could be top 20 worthy.
He is defending champ.
That was Sung Kang. That was Kang.
K-A-N-G. Okay.
Doug Gim is who I was referring to with the G. Yeah. He's a guy 70-1 or plus 240 for a top 20. Doug Gim.
Yeah, Doug Gim on a top 20, I think is that's very likely. That's probably 65-70% chance of happening.
Yeah, I like the Doug Gim play.
And then the last time the guy who won the Masters was ever alone was when he was standing in an airport with his jacket hanging over his suitcase. I heard that part.
Exactly right.
I mean, that all goes into my database, and then I query it. I queried the flight number he was on. It all comes. I mean, immense detail.
Wait till we post that angle.
Yeah. I learned it all from Tony Finn.
Good stuff, Nick Borman. Good stuff.
Hey, great stuff, Nick.
If you have to go, it's fine. But there's 4 of us. You can stay on for the rest of the show. No,
I appreciate it. I'm going to 5:30 pickup from daycare, the little guy, or I get charged for every minute I'm late. So,
oh boy,
One last thing.
Yes.
Anybody ever tell you look like George Brett in his prime?
No, that's a great compliment.
Take a look at
right
You're
there. I'll
from
take that all day.
PC too. Yeah, I mean, take a look at a picture of George Brett.
Oh, I know George very well. Yeah, that's a great compliment.
I couldn't figure it out. I said, man, he looks like somebody.
He looks like somebody.
Well, looks like somebody famous.
I could have used that.
I hope he
that
looks
line
like
at the bar back in my single day. I would have used that all day long. You know who George Brett is? Yeah, that's me.
That's me. Very nice.
And you got pine tar in your hands, and
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Clint Hurdle. They were pretty good with the ladies back then.
Well, thanks for listening to my boring golf, Robin.
No, it wasn't boring.
Hopefully you got a little knowledge and
stuff.
maybe a couple bucks in your pocket after this.
PGA
Championship next weekend, so a little bit more of a fun event.
Yeah, and
this will be a little low key. Yeah,
we'll love having you on next Wednesday too for that, because that will be serious stuff, guys. Majors is where I go at it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Take care, Nick.
You got it, man.
Nick, take care, buddy.
See you, Nick. There we go.
It was good stuff.
Yeah, he's a good guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
For a golfer?
Yeah, a little bit over my head at times. I hope I didn't come across when I was uninterested, but.
And I kind of knew that, I look at that stuff just as much as I do the other sports. The difference is that it's one event per week, whereas baseball is every day. Mm-hmm. NBA every day. But the golf is spaced out enough, and I do a lot more work for the majors. Because I guess it's kind of like looking at NBA playoffs. You get into the playoffs now, we're not going to have to worry nearly as much about who's playing. You would think that the Lakers, you're gonna know. It's not going to be a guessing game as much. I hope.
Yeah.
But that was good, Rob, because I was going to have a quiz tomorrow for you guys, but now I don't have to prepare it. I mean, you answered all the questions perfectly.
We can multitask, John, believe me. It's just that when you have one that's right off to your side, and all of a sudden you see all this red out of the corner of your eye, you wonder what's going on, and Sure enough, somebody's out for the Lakers. There's no question. Some massive drops here in both line and
Let's
total.
talk about that game.
Sure.
Is that when you broke down? Well, you weren't on the Wager Talk NBA, were you?
I actually was. I filled in for Tony Mejia today.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
A last-minute call to the bullpen. He asked, and I said, sure, I'd go on there. So, like I said, I was on with Teddy and Brian. It wasn't one of the ones that they broke down. They didn't choose that one. I think they had San Antonio, Brooklyn. They had New Orleans, Dallas. What else did they have? They had Atlanta and Washington because of the total. And Portland, Utah. That was, I think, Teddy's best bet was Portland on the show. So
yeah, he and I have been in agreement with that NBA betting angle of the day a couple of times. Well, not more than a couple of times. But when I did that line was 2.5, and
right.
I knew by the time it got to the show it was going to be lower. Maybe I could have put a line in there saying this bet's valid as long as it's not a pick.
Yeah, that was Brian's concern, that all the value had been taken out of Portland at this point. I think it was down to 1 when we did the show.
It's 1 right now.
Yeah, so certainly there's been a lot of Portland money.
Yeah, I got him at 2 earlier today as well. That line jumped right out at me. You got a 31-4 home team only laying 2. Now, I know, they lost their top scorer in Donovan Mitchell, and Conley's going to be out tonight as well, but still, that line jumped out at me right away.
And it's pretty balanced action, too. It's not like excessively on Portland. It's 57 tickets, 51 money. That makes me like Portland even more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, you got a team, Portland. Would they win 8 of their last 9 and their last 4, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
Yeah,
they're definitely playing well.
We talked about them too, John, right? 3 weeks ago, before they hit the road for that 6-game road trip, we just repeated Damian Lillard for 2 weeks, right? Damian Lillard was upset. They could not beat an elite team. We can't beat an elite team. And he listed them off one by one, the teams that walked into Portland and handled the Blazers. And they went on that 6-game road trip. They go 5-1, and they beat some playoff teams. And ever since then, as Russ just mentioned, they're 8-1 straight up. That's all you're asking them to do tonight is win straight up. And they have a little bit of confidence that maybe they didn't have before. I think, if you just get into the fundamentals of the player matchups on the floor, Portland, when healthy, which they are now, when they can run Nurkic and Cantor as the 2 centers at Rudy Gobert, it's a big plus that Portland hasn't had but for a handful of times in the last 2.5 years. Nurkic has spent more time on the injured list than any center, except for, I guess, his teammate, Zach Collins, right? Portland's big. We're always on the injured list. But with that advantage now, and, their guards against the Utah guards, which aren't their starting guards, right? Mitchell and Conley out for 8-10 games each now. Portland's got some definite fundamental edges here, and they have a little bit of revenge. I don't really bring that into the NBA equation too much regular season, but they've been beaten by 20-plus points twice by this team. Once was opening day. You could probably throw it in the garbage. And then the second one was a pretty big win by Utah as well. I think 22 or 23 points. There's some reasons to play Portland. I think Teddy pointed out that there's a lot of quotes coming out of Utah that they're a fatigued team. They're a tired team. They just want to get to the playoffs now. And some of that fatigue could be trying to cover for the absence of Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley for the last day, right? Everybody's got to do a little extra when those two guys are out. But they came up with a 41-point fourth quarter in their last game. So they showed a little bit of stamina in that one. And they're 1 win away from locking up that number 1 seed, which would be real important for the Utah Jazz, right? Play at altitude and have home floor all the way through. But they don't necessarily have to win this one. They've got Oklahoma City either tomorrow night or the night after. And it might be a little easier to go after that one. We'll see. I don't think they'll come out and lay down, but just from a situational standpoint, maybe that adds a little bit to the Portland case. But Portland's battling Dallas for that. They want to stay out of the play-in game, right? I think they're both tied, both play tonight. So it'll be interesting.
There's one thing I want to include on the show, but it's in the NHL. But I won't take very long, I promise. But this is a system that no matter what anybody says, is one that you want to remember. And let's see, it's supposed to be May the 12th, my error there. But this is tonight's game, the Kings against the Colorado Avalanche. This system has averaged a 282 underdog. It has a winning record. This is, I call these blackjack betting systems. So akin to the casino game, let's say 22 and 16, that would be 38 hands. You won 22, you lost 16. So if you're betting $100 a hand, you would make 600, right? Aside from the 21s. This betting system, though, is paying you almost 3-1 for every winning hand. Yeah. And I'd rather do the betting system than sit in a casino and play blackjack, because I couldn't help myself. I'd probably start obviously counting, and they would get annoyed, and I'd be given a hoagie and told to leave. So, it's pretty obvious what it is. You're betting against any NHL home favorite of 300 or greater, which sounds like crazy. Playing their fourth game in a week, and that's the key. NHL teams that usually play 3 games a week, the ones that have the fourth game, especially this late in the season, fatigue, I don't care how tough these guys are, and they are the toughest athletes of the professional sports, in my humble opinion, they're going to be tired. And they're coming off a hell of a run of winning 15 of the last 20. And then all of a sudden, this ugly, ugly dog named the Los Angeles Kings comes under the schedule. Bit of a letdown, fatigue, bang, there you go. Yeah. So, again, I'm not guaranteeing by any stretch of imagination that the Kings are going to win tonight. But if you played this system over the course of a season and you break this down and use it for next season, I think some of you will be motivated enough to tell us on the show that you were glad you did.
Yeah, John, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, that's incredible to bet against home favorites of 300 or better. You're 22 and 16 in this system.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, here's the thing. If you risked, I should say, $100 on the underdog in all 38 of those games, you made $4,600.
That's right.
I mean, and it's 3-1 this year alone. So, yeah, that's an incredible system.
And even this year, it's 1-2. The favorites are 1-2, so the dogs are 2-1, and the favorites have been 348, and the over is perfect 3-0. And the over is also strong on this system, and it makes sense to me because if you have a dog that is this large, if they actually win the game or the match, it stands to reason it's going to go way over. And that's been the case historically. So it's, if there was ever a contrary betting system of I don't even know what to call this. Yeah, one of the best. There's others I have that are similar, but this is almost a 300 dog. And I don't have too many of those, believe me. So at the end of the day, Colorado might win 5-0 and the game goes under and the Kings get slaughtered. But if you do it disciplined every single time it comes up, I think it's going to do well going forward. So that's all I have to say about hockey. I put Rob Vino through hockey and PGA today, Ross.
No, and that one is a system, John, where you have to be patient. Obviously, only occurred 4 times this season. But boy, if you have the patience and you spot it during the season, that's quite the moneymaker. 3-1 dogs. We talk about how you can have a losing percentage in baseball and still come out ahead, but in that system, already ahead of the game straight up, 22 and 16. That's pretty strong.
There's some in baseball too. Once we get
that dates back to 1997, right, John? I mean, it's not like it's something that's just one of those systems come around lately. It's a pretty good sample size when it lasts that long.
Yeah, and to both your points, you're getting about 2 plays a year, but this year we've had 4.
Yeah.
So whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Possibly some years there'll be none, but it seems like there's been more plays recently. Yeah, I think NHL. I'm not an NHL expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it looks like the gap between the really weak teams and the really good teams is wider.
Yeah, especially this time of the year.
Yep.
You know, as we wind down the regular season, I mean, to win 15 or more of your last 20, first of all, that gets you up to about the quarter pole. You know, so and then they have a home favorite of 300 or more. You're not going to see a home favorite of 300 or more early in the year. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
So, I mean, this goes down to a team that's mathematically eliminated against a team that's really good. And it's never that easy.
Yeah, and on paper, can you imagine Grubauer, the goalie for the Avalanche, losing to these guys? No.
No.
You know, it's like Garrett Cole going up against the Detroit Tigers. With all due respect to the Tigers, I mean that would be probably minus 300.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so let me ask real quick, John. Unlike NBA, then, do NHL teams at the end, did they not tank? I mean, the huge dog you would think is tanking for better draft position, which they do in the NBA, but does that not exist in the NHL? I don't know the answer to that.
Again, I would have to defer to an expert, but I would say no.
Being from Rochester, New York, and being a big hockey guy, hockey town here, I saw this happen with the Buffalo Sabres a couple of years ago when they were tanking, hopefully to get Connor McDavid. They ended up with Jack Eichel. Still not a bad prize. But as we know, Connor McDavid right now, unequivocally the best player in the world. I would say it's not similar to any other sport, John, because if you have the worst record in the NFL, if you have actually the NBA is pretty similar too. I mean, if you have the worst record in the NHL, you're getting the number one overall pick. This is a lottery. It's similar to the NBA, which I don't understand. I just don't get, if you're the worst team in the league, why don't you get the first pick? But to answer your question, John, Rob, I've seen it happen before, close to home here. But at the end of the day, when you get to this time of year, the separation is so big between the top teams and teams that have been out of it for a month or so. It's just a matter of they're not playing for anything, you know. So I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, because I just wonder if it hinders the system tonight, if the huge dog at this point in the season is looking for an extra ping pong ball in the lottery. Why go out and bust it to win as a $3 dog? Is that system more effective earlier in the season? You know, I don't know the answer to it. I'm just thinking through my head. In tonight's instance, would it matter if the lousy team is looking for better draft position and doesn't care about winning?
John brought up an example of Garrett Cole against Detroit. I mean, that's a little bit unique to happen this early in the year because Detroit clearly is a horrible team, and Garrett Cole arguably is one of the top two pitchers in baseball. In this particular instance, I would venture to say that out of these, 38 games this applies to, John, since 1997, I would venture to say that probably 35 of these situations, and I'm going out on a limb here, I don't have any proof in front of me, those games probably occurred beyond the three-quarter mark of the season. So
I'm actually typing it right now into the database real quick.
Yeah, because that would prove the strength of the system, right? I mean, late
season, I can do it by month.
$3 dogs that really don't care but still win. You know, we see this battle in the NBA going on right now with four teams with 21 wins each.
Right, but the NBA, when they're playing these top teams, like you just alluded to, with the Lakers tonight, that's the tough thing with the NBA at this time of year, and I'd be interested to hear your take on this, John, is why I don't like releasing stuff too early at this time of year, especially when you have a team that's mathematically eliminated and has been for a long time in Houston, and they're playing the Lakers, you know, we thought with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but now they're both listed as questionable. They don't sit players like the NBA does. In other words, Colorado, it's not customary for an NHL team to be in a situation and say, okay, we're going to give these two guys rest tonight. It's not like the NBA. And even with back-to-back games, they don't do that. So it's a little bit different in that regard. in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that would definitely make it different for sure.
Yeah.
Because these guys are, more worried about load management and stuff than they are about individual games. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting just to see the point of the season where those games are played. But as you guys were saying, in Major League Baseball, where you just pointed out Garrett Cole, Ross, we do see earlier and earlier, it seems to me, every year. 20 years ago, we would have never seen a $3 favorite the first month of a season. But we see them now off of starting pitching matchups. Those are commonplace. But if NHL $3 favorites don't exist until, beyond the All-Star break, second half of the year, then it's a different story for sure.
Yeah.
Different story.
Well, you want to know the answer?
Yeah, let's hear it.
What we have here is from March 1st on to the end of the regular season. And it's not surprising there wasn't any 300 favorites in the playoffs. But from March on, it's 6-3 in favor of the dog. ROI is plus 153. Average bet 282. $100 bet on those 9 plays is around $1,800.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost going 9-0 on $200 wagers.
Right.
So you're saying 9 out of those 38 games that we alluded to in that system happened from March 1st on?
Yes, and from 2005 on. During the day, I don't have the ability to go back to 1995 because it just the bandwidth just gets destroyed.
Yeah. So Rob, everything I just said, forget it.
Yeah, but I think it shows strength of tonight's play, right? You're talking about 67% winning percentage.
Small sample size.
Yeah, I mean, we put it into a small box, but it's still been really successful. So the thought of the team being the $3 dog tanking really doesn't even come into play.
Look at the other thing too, Rob and John, is a little bit of weird splits here for LA. I mean, they're 9-19 against the money line at home, but a respectable 12-14 on the road. So that's another little added bonus there to that. They've responded awful well on the road, and a lot of those road games, especially down the stretch, they were a sizable underdog. So
good stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like I said, the final score might be Colorado 5-0, but at least we have something here to use for the many seasons to come.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And there's nothing better when you have a big dog and it wins. And I'm not bragging here, but I actually was on the air of a different show during the college football season, and I really liked LSU against Florida. To be honest, I didn't like them enough to say that they were going to win. But one of the guys on the show I got to be kind of friends with, and we would bicker back and forth, and I just flat out said, I'm telling you right now, whatever you want to bet, LSU's going to win that game. And that's exactly how I said it. It was probably the most arrogant I've ever been in my life, but it was funny as hell. And then when it happened, I myself was like, oh my God.
It's not arrogant after the fact.
No.
No.
But, so...
Not at all.
But there's nothing more gratifying, you're right, than having a money line underdog win for you, especially a sizable one. The problem is too many of the novice bettors out there, the guys who aren't really do what we do every day, don't appreciate that. They're so caught up in win percentage. And like Rob said, I mean, I've seen a lot of guys hitting the high 50s to low 60s that are barely breaking even, and they brag about their record. You don't have to have that high win percentage when you're betting money lines. So
no, you don't.
But it's even more so when you're taking an LSU like you're alluding to. It takes a lot more guts to take a team that's +7, +8 on the point spread, and you bet them on the money line. And it comes through. Now talk about gratifying.
They were +27.5.
Wow. Yeah, even more so. Yeah.
They were 950, I guess.
Yeah.
How about our favorite story, John?
I'll let you tell it.
I mean, I'm trying. Sam Houston State, right? Or no,
Oral
even
Roberts.
at Boston.
Oral Roberts.
Yeah, now I'm going to get the numbers messed up on Ross, and you made the bet. But we were doing a show live, just like we are now, Ross. And Ohio State was playing Oral Roberts in the NCAA tournament. There's about 1:09 left, and it was a 2-point game in favor of Ohio State. And live in-game wagering had Oral Roberts losing by 2 points. What was the plus on that, John?
I think it was plus 650.
Plus 650 down to with about 1:10 left in the game.
And Ohio State was minus 1,200.
Yeah, minus 1,200 on the other side. They're only winning by 2 points. So John took a shot at it while we were on, plus 650. And sure enough, the game made overtime. And in overtime, Oral Roberts won that game. But, I mean, plus 650 for a team that's losing by 2 points seems absurd. Absolutely absurd, right? And
and the best
capitalized on it.
And the best free throw shooting team in the nation.
Yeah, a lot of things in his favor there, and it came through.
Fortunately, how many times did I say, Rob? Though I feel dumb doing this.
Well, I'll tell you this, Ross. I had to do the play-by-play, watching it on my monitor here, because John wouldn't look.
That's right, I wouldn't look.
He would not look.
I understand.
I did not.
Well, John, let me, because I'm not an in-live game bettor, so at +2 in basketball, college basketball, or the NBA, with that amount of time left, or you're down to, I should say, what's the normal odds for the team behind? I mean, ballpark.
Oh, I think it should have been less than half of that. I think it was just complete market mispricing, and we just happened to be looking at it at the right time.
Yeah.
And that is probably the only bet I've made NBA college basketball all year in the second half that's been in-game.
Yeah.
And I always emphasize that with the totals in the NBA, it's first half only, and it's got to be in one direction or the other. When I'm trying to create those middles, looking for a team to start out fast, you want to get that under in there first, and then look for the slowdown to a more normal pace. So it's essentially like 8 points per minute in the NBA is on the fast end, and if it's more than that for a 3-minute period of time, then over the next 2 minutes, you have that 2-minute period to get the bet in on the under. And, Rob's my lucky charm, I think, because we also did the Creighton game.
I was just thinking of it, John. I was just thinking of it.
I mean, that was...
The first 5 minutes were incredible. The first 10 minutes were incredible.
Yep. And I don't even remember what the number was that I got, though, but it was... We know that the high-scoring game in NCAA tournament history is 193. I think it was Purdue and somebody overtime.
Right.
And I think the line was I got 175, but it actually went as high as 178, if I remember right. And the opening line pre-flop was 157.5, somewhere around there.
Yeah, right in the 50s somewhere.
Yeah, just south of 160.
Yeah, you remember the Loyola Marymount days, though, right?
Oh, that's my favorite team.
Yeah, I mean, those totals were, I think you might be, all due respect, John, you might be wrong on that 193. Because I recall them scoring 140 points in a regional semifinal. I forget against who. It was.
I think if
like
you look it up,
140 to 110.
Yeah, you probably find. I think they played one against Alabama. To Ross's point here, where it was.
Let me look that up right now.
You are right.
In the end, they lost to UNLV that season, but I think they played Alabama, and maybe they might have hit 140. Do you see it, John?
I'm going to look it up right now. So, I mean, go ahead, unless, John, you got quick access.
No, I think what I did there, to be honest, is that 15-year span. So I suspect that this Loyola game was probably 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's 1990, 90.
Yeah, so
90.
Yeah, I have to be more careful when I say the highest scoring, ever. Well, it's ever in the last 15 years.
Understood.
Yeah, that was just a fun team. Paul Westhead had that team, and I used to say they had a wing named Jeff Fryer, and I thought Jeff Fryer had the best job in college basketball. Just run to the three-point arc every time and wait for the ball. And they had Terrell Lowry. That was just a good basketball team, and that was. I'll tell you what you
Kimball.
talk about. You got
Kimball.
it.
Yeah,
from Philadelphia.
He was
right?
shooting his free throws left-handed to honor Hank Gathers in the NCAA tournament, if you recall.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, John. You're from the area, but my my youngest graduated Bishop Shanahan High School in Downingtown and was presented an award by Bo Kimball, so I got to meet him.
Awesome.
And we talked a little bit about that team, but I got to tell you that for the times that people always say, you remember where you were when.
I bet
any college basketball fan remembers where they were that night in that Big West tournament with Hank Gathers.
Yeah.
That was just terrible, absolutely terrible.
Yep.
But a great basketball team. Paul Westhead had them just up and down the floor. They were crazy good.
Yes, they were.
A little ahead of his time because I think that's the head coach that Magic got pushed out of L.A., right? Paul Westhead was
That's
the
right.
coach.
Yeah.
Magic didn't
Yeah.
like it. Magic pushed him out.
That's correct.
Yep.
And Pat Riley took over after
Pat
that,
Riley
if I'm
moved
not mistaken.
in.
Yeah.
That's how it happens. So, it's that was a good team. I'm pretty sure that they played maybe more than one game over 200 points.
Yeah, that was
I
good
can't
catch.
access that, but I'll have it for you guys the next time, I
Yep,
promise.
that sounds good.
Yep.
So let's put a bow on this show. This show was pretty good in my opinion. I like that the diversity we bring on here too. We cover
Yeah.
not just the main, the PGA Tour's mainline sports. I mean, it's just something that doesn't get as covered as much as NBA. I had aspirations to even talk about the first week of the NFL, but we'll definitely cover that tomorrow. Just with the way too early look at week NFL week 1.
John, as they say in Russian, niet, which is no, right?
See, I just learned something for another thing today because of this show.
Yeah. And my Buffalo Bills are not opening the season at Tampa Bay. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. They awarded the Cowboys that game, and we'll see.
And who do the Fish play? Miami. They play New England.
Yes, 4:00 game, late game, on the first Sunday of the year. So watch out for my Bills this year, buddies. Watch out. I mean, I know they made it to the AFC Championship game last year, so they're not as much of a surprise. What a job Sean McDermott has done.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to hear it from guys who are from outside my area. But, I mean, 3 out of the first 4 years making the playoffs after, a 21-year drought? And Brandon Beane's an excellent general manager, very underrated. So I'm really looking forward to this year from a fan standpoint. That's one of the most difficult. They're the only team, and I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this. It's tough to have a favorite team or several favorite teams when you do what we do, because then you don't stay objective. So from my standpoint, I eliminate Buffalo right off the board when I start the week. I don't know if have you guys ever been in that situation throughout your careers?
Yeah, I am every day because I grew up with favorite teams. I still have them, but I don't mind betting against them. I'll say that. I mean, I've been a Denver Broncos fan my whole life, and I remember a playoff game against the Patriots where I had a huge play on the Patriots in Foxborough, and my youngest son was like, "Why are you rooting against the Broncos? You love the Broncos." But at that point, it doesn't matter. So I can maintain it and stay objective. Hey, Ross, real quick, I mean, while you're rattling off compliments for Buffalo Bills staff, Brian Dable, as the offensive coordinator, has been a godsend for that, and Josh Allen in particular. Boy, when they got him from Alabama, what a playbook he brought to Buffalo. Opened that thing right up.
Yeah, and he was only at Alabama for a year. You look at his history, Rob. I believe he was the offensive coordinator at Cleveland at one point, and they were dismal on offense when he was there. So, and then only 1 year at Alabama, and it's like me, you, and John could be the offensive coordinator at Alabama with the talent they get. But at the end of the day, it's from me being a Buffalo Bills standpoint, it was a huge surprise and pleasantly. I think they changed the rule too, where now you can interview an assistant coach that's still alive in the playoffs, because we saw what happened this year. I mean, between him and there was one other coordinator who was right up there in the mix for some openings in the NFL at the season's end, and they missed out because teams wanted to commit so early, and these guys had deep runs in the playoffs. Eric Bieniemy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I believe they changed the rule this year. Now they're going to allow assistant coaches that are still involved in the playoffs to take a head coaching job somewhere else and not have to relinquish their present duties, which I think is a good thing, you know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, they actually allow it in the college game. I mean, if you take a job at another university, you can still stick around and coach the bowl game for the team that you're employed by. So it would only make sense that they would allow that for the NFL too. But
yeah, we saw that with Central Florida a couple of years ago with he's at Nebraska now. Help me out. Frost?
Scott Frost.
Scott Frost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Scotty Spreitzer would have been mad that I didn't know that name. So anyway.
A good man, Scott
Tony
Spreitzer.
George as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyway.
So to recap here, we have under Phillies Nationals by Ross Benjamin as a free best bet. Mine is on the Los Angeles Kings with the caveat that I am not an NHL expert. I'm just a numbers guy in that sport. In golf, Nick had
Zalatoris.
Zalatoris, who, by the way, is not a member of the PGA Tour just yet. He's on a sponsor's exemption.
Wow.
But he earned that exemption by being so darn good at, I think it was Oklahoma State. So it's one of those rare situations, but safe to say he's earned enough money that he's a member of the tour very, very shortly. Who else was on that list? We talked about DeChambeau.
Ghim.
Yep. Doug Gim, Ghim, at 70 to 1, and I think he said 4 or 5 to 1, top 10.
Yeah, he was plus 240. I think. So.
And he had a matchup, John. I don't remember the matchup, but
he was fading Matsuyama. So with Daniel Berger was the play against Matsuyama. And he was fading, just generally fading Matsuyama because of all the demands. When you win the Masters the first time, there's demands by the media that are just unbelievably taxing. And the fact that he's the first one to ever win a major from Japan, he's a legend and hero in his country. And that adds even more demands to his daily life. So for him to come back, it's probably almost a relief that he's playing golf and getting away from the crowds.
Right.
As a human being.
Did you guys watch the fight last Saturday, by the way? Canelo Alvarez? Yeah.
I saw the highlights. I didn't see the fight as it happened.
Yeah. It's too bad. That kid was winning the fight up until that point. Got hit with one shot and dislocated an orbital bone in his eye.
Right.
Stopped the fight.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
He was ahead on points. So
Oh.
this Canelo Alvarez, though, he's a bulldog. Really good.
Yeah, it's too
Thought
bad.
I'd throw that out there. Did I hit you guys up with a PGA or NHL with that boxing question?
Actually, because I don't follow MMA, but I knew that fight was going on. I saw the highlight that night where his eye closed up, really, and they ninth round or something. They stopped the fight.
Yeah.
It those things happen. Wow, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, if you have a ticket on the guy, it sucks, I guess.
Plus 350 he was on the money line. So.
Yeah, you're winning the whole way, and yikes.
And then, of course, the young man broke his leg when he was that was last week or the week before. He did one of those kicks into the other guy's leg. The other guy's leg planted, and it just shattered.
Yeah. Surprised it.
I can't remember his name, but apparently he's going to be okay. But it was kind of an injury, on kind of like the Alex Smith thing. Just really awful and something you don't want to keep watching on replay. Which they did a good job of not doing. All three of us remember the day when. Yes, we all remember that. And how many times did they replay it? Then they zoomed in, and of course we're all sitting there, like we're Romans at the gladiator fights. And you just keep looking at it like, oh my God.
Which incident are you referring to? I'm sorry.
Lawrence Taylor, Joe Theismann.
Oh yeah, Joe Theismann. That was Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Beside, yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yes,
Even
it was.
LT didn't like the sight of that.
Sure.
No, you could
That
tell by
night.
his reaction right
Yeah.
off the bat.
Yeah.
You know.
It's crazy. Hey, John, out of curiosity, real quick, just because we've talked about it all week long, I saw that Medina Spirit drew the number 3 host position for the Preakness, allowed to run. So we'll see if we can get a second win out of that horse. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully so. And reminds me, too, we have Marco D'Angelo, one of the 3 co-founders of Wager Talk, coming on the show on Friday, just a one-on-one with me again. I've learned so much about horse racing in the 1 or 2 shows that he's been with me. It's just unimaginable how much I've learned. And it's created a passion. You know, I now study the races. I don't pick it because I like the name or because somebody else bet the other horse. I'm not betting that guy. And I try to narrow it down to a horse that nobody's betting. Yeah, there's actually some science behind it now. And he's been in it since 1986. And yeah, when he talks, you can just tell. I mean, it's kind of a... Yeah,
He didn't create a passion. He created a monster.
Yeah, that's true. I did a superfecta in the Kentucky Derby. I did a superfecta. And part of the woulda, shoulda, coulda club, if this horse would have got disqualified, which I didn't want, then my superfecta would have won. But what do they say? All tickets are final. All bets are final. It doesn't matter what happens after that, and that's why the racetracks do it, because they go broke. And you can't stay in business and pay 2 winners in 2 places for a race that big. But it's fun, 19 horses, and you do those superfectas with the pyramid, and I mean, I didn't even know that existed. Didn't even know it existed.
Like I said, he created a monster, not a passion.
Yeah, I can't wait till the show Friday. You guys will have to tune in and come in the chat room and make fun of me or something.
Yeah.
But Rob, what was your best bet again for tonight?
I'll give you one right now because we really didn't get into it. Exactly what I used on the NBA tip-off show. The Brooklyn-San Antonio Spurs game tonight, guys. First half over, 114.5. Brooklyn's on a 7-game run now where their first halves have all gone over. Not just over, but over the 114.5 that we're looking at tonight. So it's not like they scored 109 and got an over. They've been getting up there in the first half. And something I noticed last couple of games, going back to their Denver win where they came back from 20-plus down, and then last night's game, is that it seems as if they call upon themselves in the second half for defense. In the fourth quarter of that Nuggets game, they went out there with a purpose on a defensive end and came back and won the game. And last night against the Bulls, late third quarter, fourth quarter, they came out defensively and put that game away. So it looks like, I don't want to say it's a philosophy that Brooklyn's running with right now, but it seems like the first halves are loose and free. The second halves become more defensive. I'll take a shot with you over here. We're going to see James Harden in all likelihood tonight. And I think we're going to see Kyrie Irving. The facial contusion, I guess, is how they addressed it. It's not a concussion. He cleared concussion protocol. So we might see all 3, the big 3 on the floor here tonight. No Joe Harris for the Nets, but the Spurs, you need 2 teams to make this thing get over, right? And the Spurs are 7-3 over the number in their last 10 first halves. A pretty high-scoring team. Have to be because they have no interior play to speak of. So I'm going to take it. 114.5 seems a little light. We'll play it over first half, Brooklyn, San Antonio.
Awesome. And on that note, thanks to Toasty Sam's 13. Rob Vino is the best in the business.
Oh, Toasty Sam, my guy.
Don't you love that? That's awesome. Ski Profit. Look at this guy. Why? Ski, I sent you a
he
link.
wants to let us know Kyrie's out. So we'll get Harden and Durant tonight with no Kyrie. It seems like they only play two at a time or 1 at a time, right? The 3 never get together.
No.
Hey, I've done that round robin too with like which combination is best of 2 of the 3, and essentially Harden should not play. Just saying. Doesn't mean they can't win the game, but if they want to optimize the offense, and maybe I always thought that if one of them could come off the bench as a 6th man, and that augments the second unit like you just can't even believe, but they haven't done it.
Yeah, well, Kyrie won't facilitate. That's the thing. So James Harden has to be the point guard because Kyrie just can't do it or won't do it.
Yeah.
Remember he said that they got together and basically Kyrie decided that James Harden needed to be the point guard. So that was the end of that. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, who knows how
Brooklyn's one of those teams that I just can't get on the right side of this year.
Me neither.
Either going with them or against them, and I sort of gave up on them about a month ago. I said, let me wait to the playoffs when all these three guys assuredly will play every night, barring injury. But I don't know. Let me pick you guys' brains. I mean, do you ever have a team like that through the course of the year you just can't seem to get a handle on, and you're on the wrong side, and you just sort of stay away?
Yeah, I had it in college football, Ross. I remember being on the show with Drew Martin and Ralph Michaels, and it was Arkansas State. And I remember I played in Arkansas State over. And it didn't get there. And it was an incredibly low-scoring game for Arkansas State, and known for their offense. And I came right back with it the next week, Arkansas, like bashing my head against the brick wall. And the third week, it didn't happen. The fourth week, we go on the show, and I said, I'm done. I'm done with Arkansas State overs. And they went out and scored like 58 points that week. So that's always the case.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I couldn't get on the right side of that team no matter what, as far as totals were concerned last year. It happens.
I think the most recent one for me would have been the Philadelphia Eagles. Talk about catching a falling knife. And I may live in the area. I want to see the Eagles do well, but like Ross said, I'm a fan of I'm a sports fan. We're a sports family. We're not crazed by one team. I do have a slight lean, Ross, to the New England Patriots squad. Just between you and me. So maybe we can have a...
Are you originally from that area?
No. Mom bought me a poncho when I was 5 years old to wear to kindergarten when it rained. And it happened to have that beautiful logo of the 3-point stance.
Yep.
She bought me another one that had the Dolphins on it too. So... unfortunately, I was out of kindergarten and going almost into junior high when they did their undefeated season, so I couldn't fit in it. So I had to stick with the Patriots then. But man, I'll tell you what, going to high school, I was abused because the Patriot team sucked back then. I mean, it was what, 1-15 the 1 year. I mean, it was not a good ride. But I just kind of like in the Philadelphia region. But we have family in Boston, so that was another thing. I just love that city.
Boston's a great city. I lived there for 2 years. It's got a lot of character. Let me put it that way. And people like to drink in Boston. I don't want to be stereotypical and say there's a high contingent of Irish people in Boston and associate that with drinking, but.
Yeah, I think the North Side, not giving out any addresses, but I think the North Side is one of the best places to go.
Yeah, a lot of fun, man.
And I'm not Irish, and they treat me like I am.
I thought you are. See, that was a bad assumption. Ryan's not Irish, huh?
Well, it's a long story.
Okay, we're at the end of the show, so we won't go there.
Yeah, we'll save that for tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, so till tomorrow... we'll have more shows throughout the day, and then 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we'll back here for Manny's Pub. And Tony, Finn, Rob Vino, the rest of the gang will be determined. It'll be on Twitter for the guests, like I did today. Thank you, Ross, for being on the show. Always a huge addition with your experience and knowledge for this show. Really appreciate that. And I guess that's about it. So for myself, Rob Vino, Ross Benjamin, Nick Borman, the Predictive PlayBook, Sports Memo, WagerTalk.com. May all the wins be yours.